Come home. Come home. The words tumbled over themselves in Zoie Crawford's head. Her mother, Rose, had mastered the singular ability to weave her words into a mantle of guilt that she ceremoniously draped over Zoe's shoulders. The weight of it, heaped on her over the years, eventually forced Zoe to flee her home in New Orleans to build a new, independent, guiltless life in New York. A life free of the overbearing, the clinging, the neediness, and the possessiveness that threatened to swallow her whole. Not now, not an option, not even for Nana Claudia. Too much was at stake, and she knew her grandmother would understand even if her mother didn't. Yes, her grandmother was in declining health. Yes, she was pushing 90. Yes, she had been the mother to her that Rose had never been. But the world was still reeling from the horror of the Twin Towers crumbling and the devastating loss of thousands of lives. Her immediate responsibility was to dig through the debris of misinformation and present her findings. Her readers, the world, deserved nothing less than her best. It was her Nana who always told her, "You is a little black girl in a white man's world. You gon' have to work 10 times harder to get halfway to the finish line." Zoe lived by those words. Those words got her out of bed every morning. As a result, she was a rising star in journalism, and her focus remained on getting the story and the coveted prize. Her coverage of 9/11 had Pulitzer written all over it, and she couldn't do her job from the family home in New Orleans. She dropped her cell phone into her purse. She'd call her grandmother later and listen for herself whether there was any truth to her mother's clarion call or whether it was simply another ploy to manipulate her emotions. Zoe strode into the hub of the newsroom and instantly felt the familiar orgasmic rush that fueled her. She'd long since given up trying to explain why she was so hell-bent on pulling back the curtain to reveal the Wizard of Oz. Her zeal and single-mindedness had estranged her from her family and contributed to the demise of her relationship with Brian Ford. Then there was Jackson Fuller. But that was different. Yet, her tenacity jettisoned her career, taking her from being a beat reporter to a senior correspondent. She took great solace in that fact and forged a new family in her co-workers. They understood her passion and commitment. That was the balm that soothed the raw places in her soul. The places she shared with no one other than her one friend, Miranda Howard. Even though they often bumped heads over the importance of having more than work to keep one warm at night. "Zoe, I need to see you," Mark Livingston bellowed over the cacophony of chirping phones, slamming doors, and a chorus of voices. He stood in the frame of his office door with his usual harried expression. For Mark, everything was code orange. "Be right there," Zoe called out over the bent heads of her colleagues. She dropped her purse, coat, and laptop on her desk and wound her way around the bullpen to Mark's office. "Close the door and have a seat," he said without preamble. Zoe stepped into the claustrophobic space of her publisher, quietly shut the door, and was quickly sucked into the abyss of paper and the towers of files that occupied the 4 corners of the room. She lifted a box from the one chair, placed it on the floor, and sat down. The organized chaos of Mark Livingston belied his brilliance. He had a nose for news and the ability to recognize that fever in others. His reputation for integrity and excellence was renowned in the field. He'd spent 10 years with the Washington Post and the New York Times before pooling all of his resources and launching the National Recorder. In the 15 years since its launch, it had stood toe-to-toe with the Post, the Times, and the Wall Street Journal. When Zoe graduated from Columbia University School of Journalism, she bounced around for 2 years before landing 5 years earlier.